There and
Not
no
yet.
traffic.
Other than
Started the
Pete.
recording, so
I
watch
forgot
what
his
you
last name.
say.
Pete, I know, but is his first name.
It's nice.
You can say that 4:30.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started.
All right.
Call the meeting of the Oregon City Library Board to order. Approval of the minutes. Have you all had a chance to read those? Any changes?
Move that they be approved.
I have a motion that the minutes be approved as presented. Is second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed.
And can I make a change to the agenda depending on
Yes.
Linda? We might have somebody visiting, and I told her that we had this 30-minute presentation.
Yes.
And maybe if she wanted to show up, could she show up maybe at 5?
All
So,
right.
I don't, Linda, if you have comments, of course, we can go ahead and hear them, but at least to maybe have this available to this other person if she comes later as well. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay. That'd be a second presentation then?
Well, Pete here,
Sure,
here's
you
Laura.
I am.
No, you're fine. Here's Laura, yay! No, no
all right.
biggie. We can go in order. I just want to make sure that if this
Sure.
woman does come,
Okay.
that we would listen to what she had to say.
Citizen comments. I understand we have a presentation. Pete, would you make sure your microphone is on there? Is there a red light there? Okay.
Thank you.
And introduce yourself, and the podium is yours.
All right, thank you. My name is Peter Walter. I'll go by Pete. I'm in the planning department, and I've worked for Oregon City for almost 7 years, I think. And the city is doing a concept plan with public involvement for the south end area of the city. And that's the area that's shown in green on the map here. If you can see that on your screens, you can toggle your thing over and see it on your screen as well. This is an area of the city that has been brought into the urban growth boundary 2 separate times. Once in 2002, the most recent in 2002, and that's the area that's shown cross-hatched in green. It's farther out. And the other area that has been in the UGB since 1980. The study area that we're looking at includes all of the area within the urban growth boundary, as well as some existing city subdivisions. And we're calling this a concept plan, but it really is a sort of a neighborhood plan that the city is required to do, and prior to any annexation in the area, and before any land could be submitted for annexation or development within the city of Oregon City or annexed to the city, we do a long-range plan. It's really a long-range plan because it takes a very big picture view. And what we are required to look at when we do a concept plan are transportation networks, housing, parks, open space, natural resources, employment opportunities, not so much in this area because it's primarily going to be residential. And how do people get around? How do people want to get around in the future? Today, what you see out in South End includes a variety of low-density and rural land uses, including farm and forest uses. And the area is under county zoning. So there's rural farm and forest 5-acre zoning and future urban 10 zoning and sorts of things like that. If it was annexed into the city, it would be annexed in incrementally by property owners who are willing to bring their property in, and the zoning would change to city zoning and become a higher density area. So what we want to make sure of as we're looking at this area is that we understand what is important about it today, and that's where we're at in this process right now. We've been working on the plan about 6 months, and we've been gathering public input. We've had a series of what we're calling community conversations, and this is one of those. And the two primary questions that we're asking right now are, what do people like about South End? What do they value about it? Why did they move here in the first place? And the second question is, if they could improve anything about the area, what would it be? and we're asking people to be fairly specific, So understanding that there are regulatory requirements in place for the city to adopt a concept plan, while at the same time understanding what is important to people about the area, is critical to the success of the concept plan. It's also critical to how the area develops in the future. Annexations in Oregon City are subject to voter consent following approval by the city. So the strength of the concept plan is how well a good job of public involvement we do. And then the process of annexation and ultimately development and build out of this area could take anywhere from 2 to 25 years. There are, I think, about 156 different parcels out here, different ownerships, a lot of land that probably is not going to redevelop because it's already in the county subdivision and it's on a fairly small lot. But there are other properties that are largely vacant and redevelopable. So that's kind of what we've been doing. We've had, to date, we've had one community open house. We're going to have a second community open house on February 27th at McLaughlin Elementary School, which I'm waving the cursor on the map here where McLaughlin is. And all of our meetings with our community advisory team have been held at McLaughlin. Ginger Redlinger, the principal there, has graciously allowed us the use of those facilities, and it's a focal point for the area. It's also an area of concern because of traffic safety and those kinds of things. Streets out in this area largely built to a rural standard, so there's a limited, pavement width, and people they walk on the street, which they're fine with. But as the area becomes more urbanized, there'll be a need to bring it up to city standards, provide safe connections for pedestrians and bicycles, and that process happens as development occurs, unless there is capital improvement money in our budget to provide large-scale connections, such as, for example, the Holcomb Boulevard pathway that was done, and that sort of thing. The other aspect of this is the funding for this comes from Metro, and they collect construction excise taxes, which are used to help cities within the urban growth boundary do long-range planning like this. So we have some Metro money to do the plan. We have a consultant who is helping us with the technical and public involvement aspects. That's Kogan Owens Kogan. And they have a bunch of sub-consultants, engineers, natural resources, mapping people. We just completed the first phase of an online interactive survey, and I know Karen was talking about that earlier, which allowed people who can't attend a meeting to go online and look at, first what it asked them to do was state what their values are. So based on what we've heard today, we've heard a lot, for example, preserve the rural character of the area, make it safe, provide better connections, preserve certain natural resource aspects of the area, and that kind of thing. We've also heard to a smaller extent that some people would like to see some level of commercial amenity out here, whether it be retail of some kind, because there currently aren't any commercial lands out in this area. And based on what people said, we put those values as options, and people were allowed to move those values around and rank them. And all that data was collected. And then the next phase of that exercise on the web was a map. And it was this study area, but in interactive form. It would allow you to drop markers onto the map based on whether you wanted to see something preserved, whether there was a transportation issue that you felt needed to be resolved, and what it was. And it really allowed people to focus and drill down locationally as well as topically on what was important in this area. And I think we had about 105 responses while that interactive survey was up. So we're really trying to reach a very broad group of people with this concept plan. People who are web savvy and don't have a lot of time could input through the web. and people who have time to come to some of our meetings and open houses. We have a community advisory team of 18 people. That we had 30 people apply to be on that, so we had great volunteer interest. And they are meeting coming up here on the week prior to February 27th. We'll have a meeting at McLaughlin just to get ready. But the thing I wanted you to be aware of is the meeting that's coming up. This is the meeting, the meeting where we'll be starting to look at actual land use patterns in the area conceptually, and asking people to basically put pieces of paper that represent land uses, natural resources down on paper, and write their comments on a board so that we can start developing a draft concept for the area. So I'd like to ask a few of you a couple quick questions. The first is, do any of you live in the study area, or you do business down there, or you travel down there?
I live close to that study area. I live
Yeah.
off Central Point Road there, that development that's just right at the border there of the area. Down. I live right down.
Oh, okay.
Right in here.
Yeah.
I live right down in here, right there, actually.
I see. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's outside our
It's
study
outside
area.
your study area,
But
so.
one of the things that we'll be looking at as a component of this is the transportation system. As you know, we're doing a transportation system plan update as a separate project as well. And the draft of that has already started to identify conceptual alignment for a connector road, what they're calling a family connector road, that would come through and loop through this area in the future to provide service to these properties and to help alleviate traffic on South End Road as the area improves.
Could you say what some of these roads are? Because I can't
Sure.
read any
Yeah,
of them,
sorry,
and so
I
I'm
have
not
to give
sure
you
where
bearings.
this is even.
So I'll start at the top. Right here is the intersection of Warner Parrott and Lawton and
That's
South
where
End.
King
With-
used to be, right? That's the old
Yeah,
King
I think
Elementary
King is
School.
there.
Yeah,
That's where the light is.
and the
And then
gas
you come
station.
down and you got Oregon City Christian Church. Yeah, that's where the South End Market and the gas station is up there. Oregon City Christian Church, United Methodist Church. You come down.
And is
right
that
at-
South End Road then? that
Yeah,
you're coming
coming down South End.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then Central.
This is Rose Road
Oh.
here, and this is where you hit the study area. And essentially, you're leaving the main city limits at this point. But we've got some city subdivisions that are leapfrogged out here. Here's one of them. Here's Finnegan's Terrace, which is another city subdivision, and over here as well. So we've got some, kind of a hodgepodge of county and city land interspersed in the
When
study
you say
area.
a city subdivision, are they served
Yeah.
by city services?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
But they're still in the county?
No, they're not.
They're not, okay.
These ones have been annexed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what the red dotted line is. Is the city limit
It
line.
looks like part of that subdivision is outside the city there.
It looks like it, but
It's not.
it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
yeah.
give up.
No, yeah. This large flag lot is within the city. It has not been developed yet.
I was
And,
talking about this loop down here.
down. Yeah, this section of that loop is county,
Yeah.
and then it comes in, and it's city right there, and the sewer.
That's
the
weird,
s-
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, the sewer is stubbed right there. And these little patches just here and here are where the septic systems are for Finnegan's Terrace outside. And there's an issue there because the septic systems have, limited lifespans. And so if one or more fail and they can't repair them, then if they're within 300 feet of city sewer, the law requires them to hook up. And that's very expensive for one property owner. So there are definitely economies of scale that need to be thought about as this area starts to look at the lifespan of those septic systems. Similar situation over here, where this large open space area is where the septic fields are for that county subdivision. And these county subdivisions were approved about the time Oregon developed, serious subdivision regulations in the 70s. So, then you got Butel Road, which is, a dead end out here. Forest Ridge Road, they will probably always be dead ends, with the exception of loop roads that might connect through here.
You're talking typography for the reason of that, right?
Yeah. Kenema Bluff is right here, and Metro has acquired most of this land. So, in fact, all of the land here between here and this point is currently under Metro open space.
Is that
for-
Kanema?
Yeah, Chenema blood habitat. And the long-term plan for that area is not yet to be developed, but for the time being, Metro has acquired it, and I know that they're thinking of doing a long-term plan for it with trails, and so potentially there's some access point. They also acquired a property off of Forest Ridge Road right here. Sorry, not Forest Ridge. Right here, this parcel, Metro bought. And I can only assume that's for access to the area. We've had discussions with Metro about this because one of the questions that has come up from time to time is, can there be a second road connection from this area, and in addition to South End Road? A lot of problems with that potentially are it's a steep area, it's a habitat area, it's a known geologic hazard area and landslide area. It's owned by Metro for open space, so bisecting it with a road potentially fragments that ecology and habitat. And it's outside the city limit and beyond our jurisdiction and budget to study at this time. So we have to decide where our transportation dollars are going to go. Are they going to go into improving the existing system or building an entirely new road somewhere? So I don't think we're going to be looking at that seriously as part of this planning process. Yeah. However, that allows us to really look hard at South End Road and also potential east-west connections, which are also looked at in the transportation system plan. So the end of Parish Road to Kohler Drive potentially presents an opportunity for an additional east-west connection to allow people to get across to Central Point and that area. So I'm kind of jumping ahead to the planning stage, but what we've got about 3 or 4 more of these community conversations that we're going to be doing before we start moving into the draft plan creation process. And I really appreciate your feedback and questions on this. I'd really like to know what people think the area could benefit from if we have time. And I'll go back and look at the video and write it down and summarize it as part of our public involvement.
When you have these meetings, I imagine people will bring lists of needs, requests, services they would like to see.
Yeah.
Are those going to be shared on the website so that we
Yeah.
can possibly look at them?
Let me show you our website. Our website address, which is our primary source of new information and updates and that sort of thing, is right here. It's www.southendconceptplan.org.
All one, okay.
Yeah, all one word. Meetings are advertised on the Meetings tab. I need to update this to reflect February 27th, but the homepage already mentions this. Any project documents that are produced prior to a meeting are posted right here on the project documents site, either for the community advisory team or anybody else who wants to go and we'll take a look at them, including our schedule, our scope of work, and our approved budget. And the results of the community open houses and public involvement are going to be posted here as they are updated. So
Is the map
Yeah.
on there?
the map is under project
Project information.
information.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, right here.
Good.
The website also allows someone to register, and by registering their name and their email address, they will get automatic updates sent to their email whenever something changes on this website, which is very useful. We also, if we have your email address, it will be automatically added to our email list, and we can send out emails every Tuesday at 10 a.m., which is the primary time for doing email notifications, according to the gurus. We also, I want to make you aware of this, we'll be posting a frequently asked question at the end of this week on Friday, which is some of the questions that come up at the meetings that aren't necessarily related to concept planning. They may be related to property values, taxes, sewer connections, regulations, et cetera. And so we've attempted to answer those in a FAQs document, but those will be searchable by topic. Yeah.
What's the population of this?
Well, I'm not sure the population, but I can say it's about 400 acres, and then about 150, let's say about 150 maybe more single-family homes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So 400 or 500 people maybe.
Yeah, yeah. We're all, but we're getting a lot of interest from people, not only within the study area, but we're also notifying the neighborhood associations that are directly affected along South End Road, Hazel Grove, Westland Farms, South End, and Kenema, as well as the county planning organization, which is the county version of the neighborhood association out there. All of our notifications for these levels of meetings are direct mails within 300 feet of South End Road. So I think we do about 3,000 addresses each time we do a direct mail, which is about 5 times because we're doing 5 of these meetings. We will be doing another interactive online forum. It ended on February the 8th, but once we have a draft plan in place, we'll be posting that draft plan up as an interactive online map. And so people can actually look at the draft plan or versions of a draft plan and tell us which one they like the best.
Just a little bit into history.
Sure.
I understand that there was a road coming out of the Kenema area that went south to Canby. Is that South End Road? The old McLaughlin
Yeah,
Trail?
I think it was South End, but there was also an old road that came up out somewhere in the vicinity of the cemetery.
Yeah.
You know, a logging
Yeah.
road,
Yeah.
or wagon road maybe.
Right.
Very narrow.
But South End
track.
Road isn't part of that track.
No.
Because there's only about a couple of ways
You know,
down
I
the hill.
can't say
you know,
with
so.
any real knowledge of that. Yeah.
Well, I was wondering if there's a historical aspect to all this.
Yeah, there
That's
is.
the question, I guess.
Actually, our existing conditions with respect to history is somewhat lacking. We'd love to get more input from a historical perspective about the area. We know it was a market road, from Canby and Point South. I beg your pardon?
As it farms.
Yeah. Denise McGriff also has some really good contacts at the county that we should talk to about that. So I'd like to get that into the plan. One of the ideas that might come out of that, for example, is historical markers and interpretation that would help people really get a sense of place for this area. Certainly.
The only reason I bring that up is that I've come from the other end of the Oregon Trail up in Iowa, and urban renewal rolled through, and they plowed and paved, and then they found out that they paved over one of the most historic, not wagon train, but Pony Express stopways. I mean, it was there. It was a station, and they didn't know it. And so it was all plowed over. It could have been preserved or something.
Yeah.
No, Don, we already did that. The path of least resistance was along the river. We built a highway there.
Okay, all right. Blew it up.
Yeah, I would
Paved it
suspect
over.
that
Okay.
a lot of that. The city has the known cultural resources in our comp plan, but that's not to say there aren't others out there that we don't know about. And to that extent, we want to involve the state, SHPO, and the county historic office. And then when annexation occurs and then ultimately development, Oregon City has notifications to the State Historic Preservation Office, who provide an archaeological monitoring recommendation based on proprietary knowledge of the area that they have that no one else might have. That's in the code already.
Where is
so.
the Pioneer Cemetery in relation here? It'd be further
I think
up, right?
it's right
That's what I was
here. I think it's this
thinking.
little square.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And they've
Oh,
already
sorry,
started.
no, that's wrong, because that's us. No, maybe it is, yeah.
They've already started putting trail. Metro's really been working those trails a lot because
Yeah.
we walk there regularly.
Yeah.
So.
Brian Vaughn is the senior resource scientist at Metro, who's been working with Kenema Neighborhood Association and the Cemetery Association on those trails and road plans, and he's been really, really proactive about working and educating people about what Metro's doing out there.
I guess my only concern is when you talk about access from the other angle. I mean, I know that even when we walk out there, there's a lot of people who bring their dogs off leash all the time, even though there are clear signs saying, don't bring your dogs to this habitat area. So I just would see with increased access what that might mean for that space and for that habitat. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if there is access to this area via Butel Road or Forest Ridge, you know, obviously we've got city regulations, but Metro is also concerned about, you know, that sort of thing as well. On the flip side of that, we have heard via the website under the, I'll show you this, discuss section, dog park, you know, was one of the first people.
Really?
First thing that people were like, you know, this would be great. And those are the kind of comments that we can really work with. So we, you know, we have to involve our parks department and look at their budget. But, you know, when we hear a comment echoed like that, it really starts to drill down and help us with the planning process. Any other comments you might have that might help out? If you can think of some after tonight, that's great. If you would just contact me via email. My email address is PWALTER, pwalter@orcity.org. And you can directly email that or come to some of our meetings or log on to the website and give us your thoughts.
Forget his name, just email me and I'll forward it, whatever.
We have a Twitter link as well, so.
Wow, aren't you something?
Yeah, I know.
That's not an issue. Huh?
So I learned to tweet with this project.
I know, right?
Yeah, I actually have. I think Sam
people actually
Adams is
respond
following
to
me,
it?
so on the Twitter feed. So yeah, we have some agreement here. Thanks very much.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Pete.
I've been getting his notices about it, and I wasn't sure what was going on. So.
Yeah, I think the notices for this will be hitting the mailbox either one of them
Actually,
today or tomorrow at the
yeah,
latest.
one of the neighborhood organizations out that way already had
Good.
announced it. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Although I'm not in that neighborhood.
Well, and then your purpose to kind of talk to all the boards are just, since you guys are already kind of ambassador citizens, is just to help spread the word in addition, you know, and be a little bit more informed about what's going on with the city.
Yeah, you can always direct them to the website or direct them to me. That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Pete.
Thank you.
So the guest who I mentioned
Yes.
earlier
Want to
is
introduce her?
definitely here. And Ginger, I'm going to have you go ahead and come up here and take the other seat that is next to Pete and have you introduce yourself. And you and I can walk through this whole discussion together with also Linda's help because Linda's been in on this. And I don't know how I go backwards on my...
Ginger, would you make sure your microphone is on? There's a little red button there
As long
someplace.
as the red light is on, you're good.
You can do
Yeah.
a test if you like.
You can like even lean it closer to you so not
Yeah.
We'll just pull it close.
Swallow
Yeah,
that sucker.
okay.
Here we
There you
go.
go.
Okay.
You can be recorded for posterity.
Oh gosh, as if I wasn't nervous enough already.
I'm sorry.
You're getting all kinds of help here, aren't you? Why don't you go ahead and state your name?
My name is Virginia Churgwin officially, but I go by Ginger. And I'm just a mom of 4 kids, ranging in age from 10 to 5. Girl, boy, girl, boy.
I'm sorry, this thing's going off. What is your last name?
Churgwin.
How do you spell that?
CHIRGWIN.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
It's an awesome-
Go ahead.
Should I?
Yeah, go ahead and tell it from your side.
Sure. So my kids love the library. It's like the candy store for them, and they all run in there and they're excited. And so I'm usually trying to help the little ones find books that they like. And my older one, who's 10, was looking for a comic book, and she grabbed a book, and I didn't even look at it. We piled our books up, checked them out, headed home, and she's sitting up in the front with me, and I look over, and what's that book about? And she said, I can't read this word, and some Tina's Existential Diary, and can I take a look at that? And I flip it open, and there's just profanity after profanity, and I said, I think I'm going to hang on to that. Let me check it out first before you continue to read it. And aside from the theological stuff that I don't agree with, there was just a lot of explicit sexual and partying, vomit, alcohol, weed, pictures of people having, I mean, it was obvious what was going on. If, from my perspective, I don't think she probably would have known what was going on, but just very vulgar to me and offensive. So I've never done this before, and I hate to make a stink, but I went to the library, and Maureen was more than kind and listened and has been taking action. I just didn't think it was an appropriate book for a children's department. And then I didn't realize that there's actually a young adults section in the children's department downstairs. So I think had I known that, I might steer my daughter a different direction maybe, or be a little more careful in seeing what she's perusing through. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah. So Ginger came to me, and she was concerned not just about the book, but about, as she said, making a stink. And I wanted to reassure her that librarians count on parents to be aware of what their children are reading. So this is exactly what we want to hear from parents. And so, you know, she was not asking us to take the book out of the collection or anything else, no matter what she believed. She would like to burn it, is what she said. But, you know, she was not trying to do our selection for us. She just wanted to let us know that she felt it was very inappropriate for, you know, a 10-year-old. So, you know, what we discovered immediately is what I saw on it was the tiny Y, which this is the book right here. And you can see that it would be very attractive to a child.
I missed
And
the
there's-
title. What was the
It's
title?
called Tina's Mouth.
Oh, okay.
Mouth, that's what it is.
And there's a tiny Y right there.
that being
And
used?
Y stands for young adult. But first of all, you know, because we're crammed into such a small space, our young adult section is like in the children's area, basically. And, you know, there are signs everywhere that say young adult, but there's nothing to indicate what young adult is. And the really, you know, these really attractive books that look like series for little kids, or younger kids anyway, are facing towards the children's area. So, I mean, it's very easy to like get confused about what that is because of the location and the proximity. So what we have talked about, yeah, and then we've had great conversations back and forth with Ginger, and this has been really a very good educational process for all involved. It's been very positive. I would hope you think so too.
Yes.
Yeah, and so we went back and looked at the reviews, because at first we were thinking, okay, let's like do something like move the ones that are like really intended for older kids, either into adult or like even to a different part of the library. Well, first of all, it's like there is no other part of the library unless we put them in adult, and we could with certain titles. That would be fine. Just make them adult titles. But we went back and looked at the reviews, which absolutely give no indication. I mean, this is a very highly rated title for young adults, not little, young adult. And so we would never know unless somebody brought this to our attention, because, of course, as I told you, we rely heavily on these professional reviews to inform us about what we're purchasing. And she's tabbed the stuff that, you know, she found offensive, if you want to pass that around. It's like it's really
just
interesting.
chuckling though the back. This is a thoroughly enjoyable read.
Yeah.
And will delight fans of Sartre and Salinger.
Yeah.
That might give me a hint.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
But that you'd have to.
But yeah,
Philosopher.
and so one thing we decided was that first of all, the young adult area needs to be really, really clearly marked. So Jenny, our fantastic Jenny Chamberlain, put up a sign, and let me just read you, and let me tell you what it says. And it's really big. It's really big. And it says, welcome to the teen zone. Teen zone. And it includes a picture that's drawn by one of our teens as kind of like the whole little area there. And it says, the materials in this area are meant to be enjoyed by young adults between the ages of 12 and 18. Please keep in mind that the books in the teen zone may vary in terms of their maturity level. Need help finding a book that's right for you? Ask a librarian. We'd love to help.
Oh, I love
So we're hoping that, you know, we're also wanting to produce a handout that we can give to parents to understand the difference between young adult materials and children's, and then just let them decide, but also like give them a heads up that they may need to like really, you know, be a partner on this selection process with their child and make sure they know what their child is reading. And then we're also thinking about rearranging so that more or less all of the materials face the wall and they don't face the youth area, the children's area, so that that's not
Yeah.
as attractive, right? It's kind of more like it really is a separate area. And then we're also pulling all of the ones, there are manga, which is the Japanese graphic novels. There are manga, all of these series that are actually rated. So we're actually thinking of pulling the ones that are rated E for everybody and putting those in children so the kids actually have a fairly flush selection to choose from. That then you can say, this is where I want you to select from. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are our first. Anything else? Have I forgotten anything else?
No, I think
That's-
that's everything.
We're hoping that that will more clearly delineate the materials. And then I've talked to Ginger about putting a note on the card. We do have parents, that doesn't quite work in their situation right now, but we do have parents who really don't want their kids to check out certain materials, and we will try to honor that as much as possible if we know about it. Now, a note on the card is great as long as the person who's checking materials out actually reads the note. But, you know, we want to be a partner, but we also want to be sure, you know, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff about, you know, the children being able to select their own materials, and I know that Laura can speak to that. But that is a conversation that also needs to, you know, needs to be had. So that's what we're trying to do. Laura, you would be probably, you and Claire would be most up on some of these topics. What do you think?
Yeah,
Nice
I'm-
catch.
Yeah, good catch. Yeah.
Sorry to be a stinker.
Well,
No.
As a
Not at
parent,
all.
you have
We really
perfect right.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm a librarian at Oregon Episcopal School for pre-K through fifth grade, so this is a very familiar topic for me, and I think that a lot of the suggestions make sense. I have a large graphic novel collection, and I've subdivided it into stuff that's appropriate for K through second grade, roughly a third, and then the other I have up in a separate area where the series books are, which are more appropriate for third up through basically fifth. And I think it is centering that conversation with your child and having it be a dialogue and say, this is not okay in our family, this is not appropriate at this time. And your daughter being her own sort of censor and being able to regulate, that's a huge skill to learn. So it's, you know, it's a very much an educational
process.
opportunity. There is a great book that I picked up at one of the comic book stores because some of the content overlaps, and what might be okay with my children may not be okay with someone else's. So
Right.
I think
Yeah.
even if it's in a section that looks like, oh, this is easy, you really do have to look at it. And I think, you know, words and visual can be very different impact. What they might read and not understand, they're going to understand a visual more.
Yes.
But there's a really good guidebook. It's the Parent's Guide to Kids Graphic Novels, and it gives an actual breakdown. And surprisingly, they put Tintin 6 through 8 because of the alcohol thing. So that's a
Wow.
really, really
Wow.
good resource. If we don't have a copy of it in the public library, I'd recommend getting it because
We'll get it.
I actually went through my own collection and separated out and said, am I on target with where I've placed things?
Yeah.
They'll give you a heads up. They also give educational connections to a lot of the graphic novels too, so it's not a, you know, but the visual I think is what makes it tricky.
Powerful.
And this
It
is this is one of those situations where the fact that our public library is smaller actually
So
works to
tight.
our advantage. If you go
Kinda.
into say Lake Oswego's
separate way.
graphic novel section, it is rows and rows, and it's everything. You got Archie sitting next to Batman, sitting next to
Yeah.
Grendel, sitting
Yeah.
next to stuff that you don't want your little ones looking
Yeah.
at.
I didn't bring the other book but there's I think it's Iron Man. It's one of those power super guys, and it is so bloody and gory. There's just, you know, ripping off of heads and blood squirting everywhere. And so I said, sorry, I got to take that one too. And I know some people that's okay, but for me, I was like,
Right.
oh.
Well, I mean, when you're dealing with little
So-
kids, you want to make sure that the information that they're getting a hold of is appropriate to their age level, and that
Yeah.
if they've got questions, you're capable of answering. Hey, this is what's going on. This is fantasy. This is not real. This is whatever. But at the same time, you are the parent, and you want to say, Not right now.
Yeah.
Not with this.
And with younger siblings, it's just,
Yeah.
it's going to get passed around, so.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just wait.
And I just
Another
wanted,
really good reason not to have it in the house.
I also wanted to just make a point to say I appreciate Maureen listening to me and making me feel very valued in my opinion, and
Absolutely
her
welcome.
communication has been unbelievable. I just,
Great.
from what I hear about people writing a note to say a complaint and the non-response they get, this has been unbelievably impressive.
Well, I
So thank
appreciate you coming to me.
Thank
No,
you.
We're a team on this, you know,
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
community, so, yeah. So I hope what we're suggesting works.
Sounds great.
And then just,
Yeah.
you know, let's keep talking.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
Ginger.
coming,
Thank you.
Ginger.
Bye.
Really
Thanks for
appreciate it.
coming.
All right. Yeah.
Let me say again, it's a brave thing you did.
Yeah.
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 Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
I
Ginger.
have more comments, would like to discuss a little more. Is there absolutely no place upstairs to put it? Because
There-
it does seem like a pretty big problem having it right there.
Well, there is pretty much no place upstairs. And there's definitely no place upstairs that would get less viewing. I mean, the kids are all over the place, you know that.
I think the way it's set up is okay. I mean, because I come in with my children a lot, and I have a graphic novel fiend, and he's gravitated over to that side because he's seen it, and I'm just like, nope. Because it's, if you're taking the elevator, it's right to your right,
Yeah.
and the kids' stuff is pretty much straight and center.
Well,
Do
what
you know?
we were planning on doing is taking the graphic novels and as much as possible putting them on the inside of those shelves. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that they are not on the outside shelves facing the children's stuff anymore.
Because
So
you
that-
have the other ones, you have the series right across from them.
Yeah.
So if you're
Yeah.
series, you can flip around and like, do you know, like
Yeah.
that flow?
And we
Yeah,
moved the junior graphic novels onto another cart, so
Okay.
we're pulling
So that there's some
of
for
those,
the-
and we're going to
yeah.
beef that
Yeah.
up as well. So there's
It's almost
more
as
for
wish,
the younger.
almost like you wish you could put the graphic novel section back where the computers and the movies are. You know, they have that in its own little section, and then all the kids stuff is outside of that.
We don't want kids back.
No.
I think
Yeah.
this is a sign of what we can think about for the new building.
Oh, yeah.
Have its
Well,
own center
and
adjacent to the adult that would
Exactly. That's what we were thinking about. Well, what do other libraries do? Well, they put it farther away, you know. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, we really tried to think about that, Claire. And the only thing we could figure out is if Michelle and I moved our desks.
I was
And
thinking
didn't
that
have an
corner.
office spot
I was
at
thinking that
all.
corner would be a
Yeah,
good spot.
on
it
the
wouldn't be
wall.
bad. It wouldn't be bad right there. But
Offices are nice, though.
I have
Well,
another question. You
yeah.
know, we don't have our screen
that's
up
enough.
as far as trying to say we want to
Flip
make a
it to
comment.
the right.
oh, I'm sorry. I meant to tell you that.
Oh, down
Flip that
here.
thing.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway,
That
you
one-
mentioned
She's not finished.
you mentioned the note on the card. What would that note say?
It would
Well-
probably have to say that she didn't want them to check out YA materials. It would have to be a pretty general note.
It would
Very
be
general.
so difficult for people
Yeah.
checking out
I do find
books.
that.
It
People
would.
lined up and then evaluating
it-
what the
No, we
material
can't
is.
individually, you know.
No, it would have to be a whole, like they do sometimes with DVDs. You know, we don't want our child to check out
R-rated.
R-rated
Yeah.
DVDs or adult DVDs or
Yes.
whatever.
Even that would be hard.
It is
It
hard,
is
but we
hard,
try.
But, you know, if we read the notes, if the people read the notes, we try to do
Is our,
as much as possible.
our patron computer system smart enough or sophisticated enough to put tags like that into when you're scanning their card?
I don't think so.
No, because the movies aren't indicated they're R-rated, you know, in the barcodes
Yeah,
or
okay.
anything.
I think that there's also that gray area. What's appropriate for me? What might not be appropriate
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah.
I think that generally accepting parents and trying to respect it, but with an understanding that you are ultimately the person who's responsible for what your
Right,
child's
that is correct.
accessing. So
Exactly.
I think it's a good gesture,
She did the right thing.
you know,
Okay.
with the
Yeah.
note,
She
but
honored what her kids brought home, and that's good.
It's-
That's what you should do.
Well, exactly, and that's what I wanted to really make
Yeah.
sure she knew, that if she was doing exactly what we, you
would
know,
help for.
yeah.
Because we're not seeing the cases where the parent isn't monitored,
Yeah.
and a book like that gets in the hands of a 9-year-old
Yeah.
and then
That's
passed
right.
around to all their
So
friends.
that's why we want to make sure that there's more information out in the children's area that says, you know, this material is different.
That's how I discovered Vonnegut as a kid.
Well, there you
Well,
go.
so I was going to say, it may not always be the worst
know,
thing to
yeah,
fall into something you're not ready
exactly.
for. Over time, you will
Yeah.
understand.
Exactly.
Are we talked out? With that being? Okay, let's move on to the library director's report.
Let's see here. So you guys should have received this. And let me see if I can briefly go through this. To the right. These don't look the same on my thing, so I always have to have hard copies. So statistically, we are just trucking along, doing like really pretty well.
Doing well statistically.
Yeah, and I mean, we seem to be really pretty busy, and our self-check statistics, like I mentioned, are down, but we may change that system back of the checking out the DVD thing. We noticed that there were several missing, but there's a certain amount of loss that you expect, and it just may not be worth the. When I looked at the statistics, they're so much lower than they were last year at this time, and so each one of those things means like that's getting handled by a staff member instead of like by a patron by themselves. So that's staff time that translates into. So the cultural passes are a little bit down, and by the way, the bill for the cultural passes was just handed off to the Friends of the Library today. They purchase that for us annually, which is a great bonus. Thank you, Friends. And film series, trucking along great. I've seen some of you guys at some of the films. That's been really, really good. We're going to probably try and do more next year. Don't know how many more. In the commission retreat, I wanted to pass along to you the goals for the library. We're moving to a biennium, so we went ahead and did, not that we won't check in a year, but we did goals for a biennium. And so the site selection, obviously, a bond measure, but only after the water rate rollback issue is voted on.
That's May.
That's May, but if it's not successful, they'll go again in November. And so we could get pushback just because of that. Never mind our own calendar, but we could get pushback because of that.
Okay.
And then architect selection and plans, and then Doug really, 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 really wants to at least be able to dedicate a site before his mayoral term is ended. So
When does it end this year?
No.
31st, 2014.
Yeah. So not until the end of 2014. So we have 2 years basically that right? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It has to happen. We're going crazy. And so then we've just started working on our budget for the new biennium. And so Linda and I sat down with the finance people and had a very good meeting. And so we'll be trying to guesstimate, not probably a lot will change. Even if we start on a building, that kind of doesn't really come out of, it comes out of operating funds, but we've kind of, allocated some of that money already just so that we're kind of in practice for it.
You can't hire staff just because you break ground.
Right. Well, no, we can't hire staff just because we break ground. So not a lot will probably change in staffing and just operating the Carnegie in the next couple of years. And, even if we broke ground tomorrow, it would still take a couple of years before we'd have a new building. So, a lot of that's going to look pretty much the same. I would really like to invite you all to attend From Print to Pixels next Thursday night, which is the Oregon Humanities Conversation Project. That would be awesome if you were there. It starts at 6:30.
That's going to be at the library.
It's going to be at the library.
It's going to be stuffed, I think.
Really? From Print to Pixels?
Well, I've heard some talk.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The Oregon Humanities people, they just want to be sure that you have at least 10 people. And I'm like, gosh, I sure hope I can get 10 people to this thing because, it's about ebook learning and reading and all that stuff. And I think it's fascinating, and it certainly impacts what we're doing. But,
Yeah, I ran into a guy in a restaurant the other day, had his Kindle or his Nook with him. He says, I carry around 30,000 books with me all the time. And
What time is it?
6:30. Yeah.
Well, and then there was a paper or an article in the newspaper just this last week that one of our universities here, I forget which one it is now number 8 in the nation in electronic courses.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're learning, online.
What it's doing to higher ed is amazing.
Well, it's all in that
Yeah.
same area there.
Yeah, it is. And so, is there a difference, And then we were requiring free tickets for the Cheryl Strayed program on March 14th because we had to have some way of organizing the crowd, which I expect. because she is still very, very hot, and not that many libraries have been able to snag her. So, you know,
So are you handing them out?
when?
Like how? Yeah.
Well, we're going to start handing them out March 7th, a week before. We're handing them out 2 per person only.
Okay.
So kind of first come, first serve.
Okay.
At the library.
10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
How many tickets do you have?
I want to camp out.
Do you
We
know?
have 100 tickets. Yeah.
You should make people come only if they've read the book.
How could we prove that?
And walk the trail.
Here's a trick question. On page 81, what was she doing?
I just finished my OBOB competition. We had 13 battles today, so I'm all about
Oh, my
quizzing people on
God.
books. If you read it, you should be able to remember something from it.
That's right. That's great. That's
At
great.
the end of
That's
your
neat.
book, you walked up to the Bridge of the Gods and you touched the girders, but you
Right.
never walked
And then
across
what
the
did you
bridge. Why
do?
was that?
What did you
Yeah,
want
and
to
then
do?
what did you
Get
do?
an ice cream cone.
So we already talked about number 9 on this thing, and then I just wanted to. I actually have 2 additional pieces of paper I want to hand out. And Linda, you already have this one because it's about the anniversary. So I just want to review with you what I'm doing, and you have one too, with the anniversary. And did I keep my copy of that?
Do you need a copy?
I wrote copious notes.
Do you need
there.
one? Or, no, I don't see any notes.
There are too many William Stafford celebrations, I think, out there.
Too many what? Thanks.
William Stafford celebrations.
It's a
We had
bullet.
5, people attending. They're just,
There's a lot.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. Next year is going to be, the year of William Stafford for community-wide read. I don't know how that's going to work. But we signed up for it because we felt like we had to support it. So anyway, the 100th anniversary, I'm trying to get my ducks in a row because we have big plans. The first thing, that passport thing that's on top of that list, that is a little booklet that other libraries who've already turned 100 have prepared, and we get to borrow and just adjust. And it is a booklet with a page on every single library in Oregon that was a Carnegie that's still a library.
cool.
Okay, so there's a place for you to visit that learn about that library, visit it, and get a stamp from that library. And the theory is that people will go visit some of these libraries, bring it back to you, and get entered into a drawing. And we'll see if anybody does, and if so, we'll have a drawing. But in the meantime, we'll produce this Carnegie, this passport because it's interesting. It's very, and it allows you to talk about, your library primarily, and then this other information. We'll have displays at the library as well as placards talking about what was going on in 1913, that kind of thing. We're going to offer businesses the opportunity to give library card holders discount for whatever period of time they'd like, the week of the anniversary, the month of June, whatever. Let me skip the celebration day. We're working with TRAG and the Friends to have an art fair on June 22nd, the day of the celebration. Atkinson Fair has agreed to have an author fair across the street, and I just talked to the fire station today, and they believe they will be able to provide us with an open house, or do their annual open house that day as well. So it will be a real community thing, and I'm going to have the street closed between the Atkinson Church and the park so people can just walk across the street. And then kind of what we have in mind is that the art fair will go from 10 to 6 because you have to have it long enough that it's worth the artist dragging all their gear out. But we'll have this kind of the ceremonial aspect of it, either at 11 or 12, we need to decide. And we'll have the Oregon Poet Laureate, and we'll have, the state librarian, and hopefully the mayor, and da-da-da-da-da. We'll have the harp player, we'll have the pitch pipers and the fiddlers, but they're more a little bit after that and later. We'll do Happy 100. We'll have cake. We'll have the reading of the poetry contest winners. That's in April. We'll have the dedication of the Poetry Post, hopefully with our own little poem from the Oregon Poet Laureate. So we'll have that, and then we'll have the art fair going on. We'll have balloon artists. We'll have face painting. We'll
what's the poetry, does it talk about what the poetry competition is? What is that?
No, that's in April.
What is it?
Well, it's a K through 12 poetry contest for for the whole month. You can submit a poem, but it needs to be about trees or about Arbor Day.
Is
So
it an
it's-
annual event that Oregon City schools have?
No, we're doing it.
We're doing
It's a
it.
library.
Oh, you're doing it.
All us, yeah. And the Paul Ann Peterson, the Oregon Poet Laureate, agreed to judge it.
Oh, okay.
And so the other thing that I need to arrange is that I promised, and she agreed to, that the kids, whoever wins, would have a lunch with her, opportunity to have lunch with her. So I'm assuming it will be that day as well, that they would read their poetry, and then that ceremony would end, and then they'd go off and have lunch with Paul Ann Peterson or something. So I have to figure all that out somehow. But so that's kind of the layout of that day. And I think it'll be really, really nice. And then prior to that day, we're lined up to have the Oregon City Chamber After Hours event on Thursday, June 20th, 2 days before. That's a monthly event, right? Yeah. Yeah. It involves alcohol and snacks. That will be at the library. And then Friday, the 21st, we may do a movie history night thing, depending on how good the movie about Andrew Carnegie turns out to be. I'm not sure, but we'll see. So that might be one of the things. And then we are getting our landscaping fixed up in front of the library, those flower beds right there, in anticipation. We want to look our very best for our anniversary, and then we'll get the poetry post installed this spring as well. And our staff person, Cliff Smith, who is also going to be dressing up as Andrew Carnegie for that day, is the person who actually made the poetry post and donated it, all that to, and it's beautiful. It's very nice. So when I say poetry post, you guys know what I'm talking about? You guys have
Go
never
ahead, tell
seen
us.
one, have you?
No.
You have. Well, it looks like a fence post, kind of the 4x4 thing, right? And then it has a thing realtors use for their flyers on top of it, but much nicer. So Cliff has ours is beautiful. It has a copper lid and copper top on the post, and it's really beautiful. So that will get installed this spring whenever the Public Works or the parks can do it, along with the landscaping. That'll all get done together, and then
Well, it has
we'll be-
acrylic thing.
Yeah, so it can be seen through,
You
right?
open it
Put the
and put
poem in.
a
Yeah.
poem in it. Do you change them all the time? or
Yeah,
what?
that's the idea, is that you change them out however often you want to change them out. So we can put, if the poet laureate writes us a poem, that would be very high honor, we'd put it there. The kids who are in the poetry contest, we can use their stuff, we can pick one out that seems appropriate for an occasion, whatever. It's a great way to have literature outside the library,
Yeah,
So that's pretty much, then there will be a proclamation at the meeting before, the city commission meeting beforehand. And then, just so you know, the community development department is working on having the Carnegie, the elevator, and what else? One other thing.
Promenade.
The promenade and the Masonic building.
And yeah, they're looking at it.
Yeah, designated as National Historic Landmarks. And that doesn't really change. It's already locally designated, so it already has restrictions in place on it. This is really more of an honor kind of thing, and so they're working on that too. So that's that. And you may be requested that if you'd like help with something, maybe you'd be interested in that. That would be awesome. So we'll see. And then the other thing I really wanted to tell you about was this new program that is being is designed by a unit of Oregon Library Association, and it's called the Oregon Library Passport. And this is not on your agenda anywhere. This is an additional thing. I just went to a directors group meeting last week, and I have copies of this thing I want to pass out. If you would pass one of those out. And Linda, I don't know if you have one of these, but there it is. Well, that Linda too. There might be one in that packet. There might be one in that packet right there. No, there's one in that book then. Anyway, the concept behind this is we have long wanted to come up with a program where we could people from other parts of the state could borrow materials in other parts of the state. A lot of people, for instance, go to the coast and have a vacation home, but they can't use the library in Tillamook because they don't have a library card, right? The thing is, what we've realized is like, those people do pay library taxes somewhere. And so what this group came up with, which we are all in favor of adopting, is this program that if we adopt this and agree to become one of the libraries under the program, if somebody came to us and they said, I'm from Tillamook and I have a library card at the Tillamook Library, then we would offer them an Oregon Library Passport card with the restrictions that you see on the left-hand column. Right? Yes. Thanks again. And so while they have this card, they could borrow up to 5 items, they could place up to 5 holds. They don't get database access because the electronic thing is very funky and not easy to share, but they could at least come in and get a DVD to watch at the vacation home and, have a book. They have to return the materials to the library where they borrowed it. In Clackamas County, they could probably return it to any one of ours, so it's really no extra work for us, but there are limited things. But they have to be a library card holder elsewhere. So this does not cover the people who have no library card, which was kind of the goal, was to cover everybody, because there's a huge population in Oregon of people that do not have library access without paying for it, which kind of describes, on the right-hand side, if you're in Marion County and you want to use the Wilsonville or Canby Library, then right now you have to pay $95,
A year.
Yeah, a year, annually.
But they pay taxes too, right?
They don't pay taxes to a library.
Okay.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. So, if you're in Eugene and you have a Eugene library card and you pay taxes to that, you have your card, then you could come up here and this is like a reciprocal program, but only to people who already have library cards. So
does it have any effect on being able to, for us to get a library card in Multnomah County or Washington County? Okay.
That continues to exist. It's kind of along actually the same lines as that.
Except you get database access when you
Yeah.
have the other county
Well,
cards,
yeah.
which is why I have them.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're great. But it's along those ideas. Yeah. It's we're just extending because you pay taxes elsewhere towards libraries and then we reciprocate. It's not just for people to come here, it's for our people to go elsewhere. That's the really positive way to.
Does this require any action of this board?
Well, I would love to have a motion and get this approved by you formally, just so I can say that you do. I'm not sure that I really
Is this
need
in
it,
its
but-
final form? Like
Yeah.
this?
Mhm.
I move that we accept this as it stands.
I have a motion to accept I have a motion and a second to accept the Oregon Library Passport Program as a function of the Oregon City Library. Did I say it right?
Mhm. Sounds great.
All in favor?
Aye.
We-
Great. Okay, thank you so much. Because we individually sign up, not just as a giant system, so that's really good. All right, I think, is that everything I wanted to report on?
Did you talk about statistics?
No, I briefly
Brushed
went
upon
over the
Yeah.
statistics. Yeah, any other questions on those?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, then.
Then we are to our report of the Friends of the Oregon City
Yeah.
Library.
And we have no official reporter today, but
But I can give you something. I'm not
I'd like
any
to
longer
add
going to
something
do that.
too.
Thank you.
I don't know you. I'm Linda Van Haverbeek.
Hi.
And hi, I'm the past chair of the Friends of the Library, and I'm the chair of the Library Foundation, and I've been on the library board.
Okay.
So just so you know who I am, they all know me.
Thank you.
We just had the Friends meeting, and I want you to know that the Friends is paying half of the fee for Cheryl Strayed.
Thank you.
And so that would be something that you would enjoy. And then also, as Mo said, that she gave the bill for the cultural passes to the Friends, and they'll be paying that. And the Friends have decided to take part in the celebration by giving a discount at the bookstore. And our membership chair reported that we have 67 members, which is down from last year, but we're continuing, and they're putting notices in the water bill and in inviting people to join as friends.
Pass that around.
And then I'm taking over the farmers market, and so I think we're going to start with a potluck for the people that are working for the Friends at the farmers market. So we're going to do that. Karen, you wanted to add something?
As I manage the bookstore over there across the street, the board had approved funding again this year to buy new books by local authors. We've added 6 new authors already. Another one I think is coming in on Sunday. That includes books, fiction, nonfiction, history. The Friends of the Library Bookstore is the only outlet in Oregon City that carries books written by local authors. And so I'm a big buy local advocate. So come into the bookstore and check out our local authors.
Very cool.
And does this segue to the foundation report from somebody then? Or? I guess.
I'm continuing to do that.
On we go.
As the co-chair of the
On we go.
foundation. We didn't meet in December, which Mo must have told you that when I didn't come last month. We didn't meet in December. We didn't meet in January either because we had some difficulties with people's timing and stuff. So we met early February, and then we'll meet again starting at the end of March for our regular timings. There was a large amount of frustration at our meeting that there's no site selected, so just so you know. We're working on a case statement, so Mo gave us your guiding principle so that we can include that in our case statement for our fundraising, so that shows how we're differentiated from other places that are looking for money. Checking out, most checked out where signs are built, developed, whatever, in Oregon City, and so we have that it's either by the county or by Oregon City signs, and so we're getting a sign together to put on the site once it's selected. We're going to noted that there's a couple video businesses in Oregon City, so we're going to talk to them. It's not in our minutes, but in the past, November, we talked about the fact that I met with a representative of, I can't remember the company that puts on the ads in the movie screens.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're talking about hopefully being able to do that when we begin our campaign, is putting some Know Your Library, and then we'll talk about donating funds to the foundation when that gets going. We have some more things, donations and grants. We're at the stage where we're hopefully ready to apply for some grants for seed money. We're working on that. Mo gave us some ideas about fundraising that she got from her ALA, and we're going to also take part in the 100-year Carnegie Building celebration. So I'm trying to go over this, make sure. I think that would be the highlights from the foundation.
How many people on the foundation now?
Well, let me look to see. 7. Was everybody there?
I'm not sure everybody was
Yes,
there.
they were all there.
Were they?
We're all there, 7, and then we've had some invites out to other people.
Sure. Okay.
So, and we're looking for more.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is really great. Can I keep it for my neighbor?
You can keep that. Linda just gave that to me.
Oh, okay.
Linda Orzen. So yeah.
Oh,
You just wanted to show it to me. Yeah.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
spare.
Yeah.
It's a
And
spare.
this little, is this going to be the graphic you're going to use to?
The 100th celebration? You
Videos
betcha.
Oh, how cute that is.
Yeah, isn't that darling?
Did you
That's what we
notice
used on the Save the Date. I see no reason not to keep on using it. So I just think it's very unique. Yeah, he's not. He loves it. He finally looks like a party boy. Gosh.
Who did the little guy? With,
Ingrid Aubrey did that.
Wow.
I know.
In-house, huh? All right.
Well, Yeah. Yes, she is. She's made a huge contribution to. Okay.
Any new business or library board member reports or events? Exciting things that happen in your life you want to talk about? If not, I will adjourn the...
Can I make one announcement?
Yes, you may.
Okay, our next regular meeting is March 13th, but
Yes.
our next executive
Oh, yes.
session meeting is February 20th with a joint executive session with the City Commission. We'll
Thank you.
talk more about that in executive session, but I wanted to make sure it was announced. It will be here at 5 p.m., February 20th, Wednesday, February 20th, next week.
I can make it, Mo.
You can? Great.
Good. Thank you for reminding us.
Yeah, yeah.
And we'll send out an email reminding us again, right?
Yes, we will.
Okay, that's good. Boy.
Got it.
I know the feeling.
Now, is there any other business to bring before the board?
Remind Dawn.
If not, I will adjourn the regular session of the Oregon City Library Board. And our next meeting is March 13th. Regular meeting is March 13th. And I will now call this meeting into executive.
Okay.
Oops.